Information is power. Everyone wants power. So feel powerful.
And it did at the last Olympics, and this they attribute largely to the country's poor performance then. Now, added to this are complaints from certain quarters over poor preparations, poor funding, inadequate campaign and equipment for training. However, going by past records on performances of certain athletes and group sports events, there is encouragement that the Nigerian contingent will win medals in wrestling, volleyball, hockey, table tennis, just to mention a few. Now, will the reliance on the home-based trained athletes be anything to go by? Because analysts say sportsmen and women who won medals for Nigeria in past Olympics were trained locally. Also, they say world-beater athletes dominating long-distance races in Africa, like Ethiopia and Kenya, trained locally. But other schools of thought believe poor preparation might be Team Nigeria's major setback in Rio 2016. Now, these are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. How prepared is Nigeria for the Olympics? What should Nigerians expect? We have a distinguished panel here in the studio, but first let's get to see this report by Amanzi Marcos.
The modern Olympic Games was inspired by the ancient Olympic Games, which were held from the 8th century BC to the 4th century AD in Olympia, Greece. The ancient Olympic Games were religious and athletic festivals held every 4 years at the sanctuary of Zeus. Dalung assured all stakeholders of his desire to improve on the fortunes of Nigerian sports and avoid the embarrassment at the last Olympics. The economic downturn, which negatively affected Nigeria to a great extent, meant many of the 40 sports federations failed to attend meets and Olympic qualifiers in 2015 and 2016. Despite this, Nigeria was able to qualify for the 31st Olympiad in 10 events of football, basketball, athletics, wrestling, weightlifting, boxing, rowing, table tennis, swimming and canoeing, with para-table tennis for the Paralympics. The men's national under-23 team have been training at home and abroad for the Olympics and are expected to leave for Rio from the USA, where they set up final campaign. Nigeria's the Tigers are going to the Olympics as African champions and have been participating in friendlies and invitationals like the Stankovic Cup competition in China ahead of the Olympics. Most of Nigeria's foreign-based track and field athletes prepared for the Olympics on their own, but some are on scholarship funded by the Nigeria Olympic Committee. Segun Toriola will equal the record of 3 others who have competed in 7 Olympics in the table tennis event, while the final trial for weightlifting is concluded, with Mariam Usman the only one for Rio.
The preparation has been a little bit shaky. It's not really smooth. But we are going to try. We are going to try our best to see what our
Dalung said all the 78 athletes to represent Nigeria in Rio have nothing to worry about, but should work hard to ensure at least 5 medals are won.
The federal government is committed. The president has made his commitment for Rio 2016, so I don't think there is anything we need more than that commitment.
Olympiad holding in 33 different venues in 4 regions of the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro between August 5 and 21. In Abuja, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
Well, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Would like to introduce our guest to you. We would like to welcome to this program the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Solomon Selkap Dalung. Minister, thanks for being here.
Fellow Nigerians.
Okay. Let me also welcome tonight the President of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, Dr. Solomon Ogba. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cyril.
We're joined tonight by the President of the Wrestling Federation of Nigeria, Daniel Igali. It's good to see you.
An absolute thrill to be here.
All right. And let me welcome to tonight's program Bappa Aliu Misau, who's Chief Executive Officer and Project Coordinator, Nigeria House Project Committee. Thanks for being here.
Fellow Nigerians, you're welcome.
Yes, we are also joined tonight by the ex And there are so many Nigerians who would say the same thing, but there we go for gold or any medals for that matter. Minister, are we prepared for Rio?
Well, Olympics is a 4-year event. Um, the journey for 4 years usually starts from day one. For us, we came on board a year ago, so we inherited an existing that from the efforts we've put on ground, the determination of the athletes, their commitment and patriotism, Nigeria is heading to something greater than what it was. So, to be very, very precise, we are prepared for you.
All right, Minister. Let's come to Dr. Solomon Ogba, who's president of the Athletics Federation. Yes, we heard the minister say we are prepared. So where are all these feelers about fears coming from? You've heard them, haven't you?
Yes, definitely. If I take a cue from what the Honorable Minister said, he talked about external people being judgmental. You see, there's no way 170 million Nigerians will have an idea of what we are doing. There's no way. And for me, I don't like to really discuss our strategies on the media, because whatever you say in the media, it becomes a global secret. Everybody knows. And I'm not sure that any country in the world who put before the world what their strategy to win medals in the Olympics. I'm not sure there's any country like that in the world. Having said that, I take that cue from the Honorable Minister. The Olympics is a 4-year cycle. That means at the end of every Olympics, the journey for the next one should start. And he came in a year ago. The government came in a year ago, and I'm not sure he has been in office for 1 year. That's a statement of fact. The truth is that after our failure,
Straight away, they're working for the next 4 years. Have we been doing that?
Well, Cyril, thank you very much. I also want to take a cue from Ogba. I think when we talk about preparation, it's all relative. There's full preparation. There's preparation that may not be ideal, but it's preparation. So we need to qualify preparation. I think in this regard, based on what was set as a bar after 2012 and the expectations we had in terms of how we were expected to optimally prepare, I have at one time or the other also complained that our preparation is not superb. Because I also, like Solomon Ogba, don't want to go into Rio. And wrestling has never ever in our history won a medal at the Olympics. I would want to change that. But if we are going to win medals, there are steps that need to be done. There were timelines and targets that needed to be met. We didn't quite meet all of them. But can we realistically sit down here and say Nigeria is not prepared at all? No. Nigeria is marginally prepared. Are we optimally prepared? That is a question that needs to be discussed further.
Well, let's come to the Chief Executive Officer, Project Coordinator, Nigeria House Project.
Who are ready to...
Have you been working on this project?
We have been working on that for the first 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So in that respect, as the athletes are on the field, Nigeria, the house is going to be open for investors to come and discuss business potentials in the country. Knowing fully, Nigeria have a lot of potentials in terms of minerals deposits and tourism potentials. The house is going to showcase all this, including the most important, that is the cultural value, divergent cultural value we have in Nigeria. And if you look at Nigeria and Brazil, we have a lot of things in common in terms of culture. If you go to Brazil, the same culture of the Yorubas, you find them in Brazil. There are over 2 million, so to say, people who have the same culture with the Yoruba community in Brazil. So what we intend to do in Rio is we are going to showcase this particular culture that we are carrying to Brazil. So also, the image of Nigeria, we are going to improve on the existing from what is good now to excellent. We are going to bring in the cuisine, that is the food that Nigeria have, and so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we're still sampling the opinions of how well we have prepared for Rio. But Mary Onyali Omagbemi, you've got the advantage of having been an Olympian yourself. So you can give us your experience and what you see so far.
Of course, where the century has changed.
So,
and I expect them, with the change of technology and everything. But again, we as Africans, we respect whatever we've been given and we work with it.
All right, we'll come to you later on. That's when we're talking about training equipment and things like that. But let's hear from Victor.
Right. I am a practical realist, and I intend to open up the discussion because discussion has been too cagey for me, and I don't think it reflects what the general opinion to a lot of persons is going to these Olympic Games. I must say that our preparation has been everything but enviable going to Rio. Yes, it has a semblance of what we usually have, preparing for major global championships or continental championships. But to an extent, this looks as if it's been terribly bad preparing for this Rio. And a lot of persons are worried because coming from the background of the fact that 2012, we did terribly bad. Coming back without a medal, the worst appearance in the last 28 years of our appearance as a then at the Olympic Games, one would have thought that Rio would have had a better preparation, better motivation, better incentive. But can we say that? The answer is no. So our preparation and expectation, when you match our expectations against our preparations, then we are kind of expecting our athletes to, it's like expecting to get water out of the rock. I know the resilience, the determination, the commitment of the average Nigerian athlete at every point in time has been the driver, the propelling force behind their exploits. But in terms of preparation, I'm a little bit worried. We've not prepared the way we should prepare. And of course, we are going against the best in the world. We are not talking about the National Sports Festival. And neither are we talking about the All Africa Games. We are talking about the Olympics, which is the global showpiece of sporting events in the world. That is the biggest stage. So, if our preparation has been everything but enviable, do we realistically expect to medal? Do we stand
correspondent brings us what the president said.
This is an event to formally unveil the 86 qualified athletes of Team Nigeria to the 2016 Rio Olympic Games in Brazil. 10,500 athletes representing over 200 countries will be competing for medals at the Games beginning on the 6th of next month. President Muhammadu Buhari, who formally handed over the team to the Nigeria Olympic Committee, charged the nation's flag bearers to make the over 170 million sports-loving Nigerians proud. In doing so, he however said they must keep Nigeria clean by avoiding acts that could dent the image of the country.
I therefore urge you to keep the integrity of our nation intact by competing clean and fair at the Olympic Games. Please bring as many medals back as a result of your efforts and endeavor. But remember, it is more important to compete and acquit your country as a fair sporting nation than bring a pack of medals as a result of bending the rules and denying the games of fair competition. Go for gold in Rio. Go Team Nigeria.
Confident that we'll win medals, but we'll win them clean, right? We're going with 86 contingent. And so traditionally, there are certain sports, like Victor said, some countries can say, look, in sport X, we're expecting X number of medals. You can say, for instance, swimming, we're looking at 10 medals from swimming. Athletics, we're looking at maybe 30. Or boxing, we're looking at 5. But then, we are going with 86. The traditional sports that we're known to excel in, how many athletes are going in those sports? Wrestling, for instance, boxing.
Well, let me and when you talk about preparation, at one point do people become critical of preparation? Is it when 2 years into the years of preparation that they are supposed to be critical, or they remain silent until the dying minute, and they start blowing whistles, which are even to discourage the level of preparation. I think from the standpoint of what we have been able to do and what we inherited, we are quite confident. And like my brother, the president of Athletics Federation, said, I have not seen anywhere in the world a general going to war will invite his opponent to come and inspect his armory and then tell them that tomorrow I'm coming to attack. I've never seen that. So telling us to begin to give areas of our strength is even exposing us to jeopardy. Let me tell you what we witnessed. Our basketball team went for a competition in Madagascar and did very, very well. And they were supposed to go to Spain. And when they applied for visa, they kept changing visa requirements from one point to the other and then denied them visa to travel. And when inquiries were made, they said the letter written was signed by a dead man. The second reason, they said the lease was padded. Thirdly, they said the requirement for visa was out of time. So it became an issue in this country. When it came to my table, I stepped into it and went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and protested that they must invite the ambassador to come. Let them, these reasons that they stated. Because I called for the letter, and the man who signed the letter came. He's leaving. The list they said it was padded was the list of the exact number of athletes who went and competed and qualified to go to the next level. So I concluded that it was international politics of sports. They had sent their men to their last participation and discovered that Nigeria was going to be a contender. So these reasons were fabricated. Surprisingly,
the next one. In the last Olympics, we had a problem. The whole country agreed that we had a problem. I'm coming, sir. Yes. Mr. President then took time to sit with us in the sessions from morning to evening. Recommendations were made. Mr. President approved the recommendations and released the funding. The Honorable Minister just said, is it 17 days to go that we begin to realize that we have not prepared?
Okay, so
we'll have done that 2 years earlier.
We might just ask you at this point, did we follow that blueprint?
No way.
We didn't.
No way. Now I want to come to this again. For me, for athletes, I've said, it is a personal thing for athletes to do well. It's personal. And we are working very hard about that. And I'm confident that something will come out of it. I'm confident about that. How it's going to come, I'll save this.
All right.
Yes, that. Then I want to talk about what my brother said. You see, he also talked about varied forms of preparations. What kind of preparations are we talking about? Are we doing preparation for National Sport Festival? Or we are doing preparation for the All African Games? Or we are doing preparation for the Commonwealth Games? Or we are doing preparation for the Olympics? The Olympics is the apex of elite participation. You see, those are part of my. You see, I'm forced to say those are part of some of the things that yes. See, no, but meanwhile, somebody says somewhere that we have not prepared. I have just said preparation is relative.
Okay, we'll come back to
on the
that.
athletes that is involved.
We'll come back to that. But the phone lines are open. We have Mohammed Nuru who's calling in from Abuja. Hello, Mohammed. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Hello.
Good afternoon in this place.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My question goes to Honorable Minister.
Okay.
My question goes to Honorable Minister.
Good.
My question goes to Honorable Minister of Sports, Barrister Solomon Dalon. The minister has promised that he's going to bring medals to Nigerians. And eventually, the preparation of the Olympics normally starts what we experienced for the past 4 years when they go for Olympics London 2012. After the Olympics, some countries has gone into camp. But Nigerians, what we had in from the air, the minister is saying that they are going to enter camp in the last 3 months.
participated also in the regional competition in Durban. So our statement is based on the level of performance and our outing in all the competitions we had featured. If we had featured in these competitions and had done very well, and these are the same people we are meeting in Rio, then of course we should be able to predict our strength. So it's not what do we tell Nigerians, but what we have been able to do. So I think, like I said, we need to be more positive than to remain on the side of negativity.
Okay. Right, we have another call from Lagos. Emmanuel is calling in from Lagos. Hello, Emmanuel.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. This is Emmanuel calling from Lagos. Yeah, please, I want to comment on the Rio Olympic. So what our president, because I heard that our president hosted athletics, so who are going for the Rio Olympics. So I believe what our president have done, what he has done. So what our president has done is just to ginger them. So, and we believe that as they are coming back, they will come with gold and the other medals. So that is my prayer. And they will surely come with something. Yeah, God bless Nigeria.
All right, that's it. Okay, that's one very optimistic Nigerian there. Yeah. So, but let's come to Daniel Igali, who's president of the Wrestling Federation, and I know that you're also a coach, right?
I'm an Olympic gold medalist.
Okay, right, fine. So, perhaps you would hazard what you expect from the Wrestling Federation and how you have prepared and trained.
So before I get to that, I think it's good to talk about why some countries are able to specify with some detail what they can win.
Structure.
You know, a country like, say, came back from a competition in Spain. Of the 6 athletes I went with, only one of them had been to World Championships. They're going to the Olympics. They were meeting world-class competition for the first time. They did well, there were mistakes they made, but that is not enough for me to now promise Nigerians this is what we will win. And let me also add here, Nigerians want to win medals. What are Nigerians doing to win medals? We have 86 athletes going to these games. Not one athlete is sponsored by a Nigerian.
Yeah.
lot of things. My submission is this. We shouldn't expect much from Olympics in Brazil. But coming one, what are we doing to make sure that we have a fantastic outcome? Thank you.
All right. Just able to get a little bit of what he said there. Was quite low. What are we doing generally to improve athletes, even if they're not competing at the Olympics level? But let me come to
what are we doing for the next?
But yes.
I think he appreciated the fact that the preparation might not have been okay, but what are we thinking of the next? I think that's what I get from
Daniel Gali raised an interesting point. He says Nigerians want medals, but they are not putting anything into it. They're not getting sponsorships from companies. And this brings the question that who raises the awareness about canvassing investment, private investment in sports? Who drives it?
Well, I think when Danusa was Minister of Sports, he made some efforts. Set up, met with FIRS, and they came up with this tax rebate policy that if you spend money on sports, you get tax rebates. There's a document to that effect, but no company is willing to
of federal Nigeria government, because government will want to improve the administration of Nigeria in order to all Nigerian people to benefit the administration of Nigerian government. I hope all Nigerian guys will keep on to do prayer. When you pray about our government, about country, God will answer our
thank you very much, Ravi. Thank you so much. Right. And this is what people always allude to. So we don't get prepared in good time, and then we turn spiritual. We're asking for prayers. Will prayers give you these medals in Rio?
No. Prayers doesn't give medals at all. You have to get prepared. You have to work for it. Olympics, people should understand you are bringing in the best world
at the highest level.
At the highest level. And in view of that, prayers won't take you there.
All right.
You have to work hard.
You are the head of the Nigeria House Project Committee. What is wrong with Nigerian companies or individuals? What's wrong with them about not wanting to sponsor athletes and sports generally?
The reason is probably they are not seeing the benefits derivable from investing in athletes. Take the multinationals. Take Samsung, for instance. Samsung knew the value of investing in sports. That's why they are paying huge sum of money. Look at Nike. They are doing the same thing because they have value to their money. In Nigeria, people don't want to invest. Why they don't want to invest in this? They will say, so how many are looking at what I'm doing in this country? They are forgetting that sports is the unifying factor virtually across the world. It is only in sports your name will be, the name of the company will be put on either a jersey or a wear, that when you are on the podium, that imprint of that company will be seen world over. Look at our basketball team. When they qualified in this year for Olympics, they are being invited world over to come and play basketball. They went to China. They are now preparing their last match before Rio is, they are playing the United States of America in United States. And there are people who are willing.
Governor Uduaga sponsored her from the cradle to the podium. What stops 36 states, including FCT 37, to pick one athlete, one sport, and pay the same attention that Blessing was paid, and see what it will fetch us between now and 2020? We've said that my Honorable Minister, Presido, and President Athletic Federation and Wrestling, they've all said it takes 4 years. Actually, it takes 6. It takes 6 years. When you start counting from 4 years of this Olympic to the next one, is actually your final preparation. It takes 6 Gregorian, or the Gregorian table, 6 good years for an athlete to be prepared, because the first 2 years is actually to nurture, discover and nurture that athlete. The next 4 years is to start programming him or her for the podium. If each state does what I just suggested right now, 36 gold medals may be coming to Nigeria by 2020.
All right.
Honorable Gali also said it took 4 sponsors, private sponsors, 4 companies and 3 private sponsors to get him to that gold medal that he won for Canada, unfortunately not for Nigeria. Can we do the same?
so pathetic in this country, my love country, that we are not doing better at all regarding to the athletics. God bless you. God bless Nigeria.
Right. Thank you very much, Ibuku. Okay. Well, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, there'll be more on other matters pertaining to Rio 2016. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let
Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
We have the lottery phone.
All right, you're still on to NTA Tuesday Live. It's Nigeria's preparations for Rio we're talking about. And even behind the scenes, while that break was on, there was no shortage of suggestions on the way forward of how we can achieve that dream of coming back with gold medals and other medals, gold particularly, so we can improve on the performance of 2012. But okay, we're on the subject of companies and individuals not wanting to put their money into sports and sponsor Nigerian athletes, and everyone expecting the federal government to bear the burden. What do you say?
Anyway, I think a part of our problems had always been the issue of policy inconsistency. I recall we had Team Nigeria project at a point in time, and Team Nigeria project was a driving force behind our 2003 All-Africa Games. And after All-Africa Games, what happened? The next administration that came on board, or the next sports minister that came on board, thought otherwise, and that project was killed. Even the name Team Nigeria, that was how it came about. And then that project was crucified. You know, the problem we have as a nation for me, coming from my background as a journalist, beyond being a journalist, I've followed this sport, getting to 3 decades, and as a pure professional reporting this sport, over 20-something years, who has also been administration of this game at the highest level in this country. I think when journalists talk, it's not because they want to sound alarmist or they want to paint an ugly picture of what is not. But you make people understand these are the reality. We are the watchdog of the society. And when things are going bad, you need to point it out. When all this after tax, after a profit, could be plodding, committed to sports development. Many a times I feel, seriously speaking, we've not done enough for sports development in Nigeria, not just about the government alone, because we mouth it. When the Olympics starts now, everybody will say the only thing that binds Nigeria together, the only unity, everybody will shout it. But how much of commitment and demonstration do we do in terms of supporting the athletes, buying into what is going on? We don't do that. Whether the athletes, whether supporting government ventures in this direction, we don't. We just sit back, waiting for government to do everything, even waiting for government to carry everybody to the games. If not that Mr. President is insisting, if you don't have a role to play in these particular games, then sit back at home and cheer the team. I'm sure the sports ministry would have been inundated with passports and then asking you every day, are we not going for the games? So I think that we can still make amends. Making amends in terms of reviving the Team Nigeria project. Even if we can't revive that, we could also make it compulsory, one way or the other, make it a legislation. Let's have a legislative backing that companies or certain categories of companies can put in a certain amount of money into sports development in Nigeria. I know the argument will always be the issue of transparency, the issue of accountability. Yeah. Accountability had always been what the private sector always claim drives them away. Which is not true. We can always
Okay, fine. I think we get the gist. What you're pushing for is catching them young, sustained program of training. But let me quickly come back to the minister. Yes, companies are not doing what they should do. People are shying away from sponsoring sports and athletes. The federal government is perhaps carrying the biggest burden. But again, there are those who say even the little that comes from the government doesn't come in good time. It's 2 weeks to the Olympics. And we had the president say today that the money will be released immediately. It's 2 weeks to the Olympics. Yeah. Some people think that's late.
They are perfectly right when they think like that. But let me maybe add weight to something which is very important even before I address this. The issue of why we've not been able to earn the confidence of the private sector to drive sports. You see, my friend at the other side, the journalist, had enumerated most of the things. Policy inconsistency is very major. Our policy in this country is subject to self-satisfaction. Oh, Dalong is a minister today, he only wants to do what will give him name and live. Whether that will survive tomorrow is not important. The second thing is the issue of transparent management of funds. We cannot run away from this. Even the chairman of Athletics Federation has raised a very fundamental issue. 3 billion voted, disbursed by government. The enabling environment, encouraging them to do what they are doing. So these sum up together discourage private investment in sports. We must change from this. Then back to the issue of let release of funds. If government will continue to provide funds for driving sports, this let release of funds is already a religion. It will continue till the end of time. Why? Because government is bureaucracy. We started this issue of money for Rio as far back as January. I came in November, December, January, I started writing. And we are getting the money in 2 weeks to Rio. I have looked at the history, and it has not been more better than the 2 weeks. So it remains like a consistent tradition. It's because of the bureaucracy we have. You ride from here to there. Even when the instruction to release the money was given some few weeks ago, oh, you have not brought this, this has not been done, this has not. So it will go that way, and then you have the problem. So government should be involved in
I thought when Mr. President would have mentioned the job of God, what kind of God? You don't prepare and you are putting God. I don't know, Nigeria should change the way they are doing the way they are doing things. It's very unfortunate. The rest of the country, the world are moving faster. For Nigeria, I don't know what is going on in this country. About some few days to Olympics, the President should release the fund to after that is going to participate in the Olympics. Nigeria should change their attitude. When you don't prepare, don't expect to get something. I don't know the money they're going to release to that person, whether they're going to buy the gold with money. I don't know. Please, that's my contribution. I'm not happy the way things are going in this country. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Eugene. Okay, there are so many other issues here, and one of them, of course, has to do with, well, we're going with a contingent. Some might say a small contingent, but there's an important aspect of it, which the minister promised today, and that when we win medals, we'll win such medals in the right way, clean. What have we been able to do about the issue of doping? That is a serious issue all over in the sports world today. Of course, we know what's happening with Russia pertaining to doping. Kenya, can we stick our necks out and say we will be spared of such matters?
Well, we receive correspondence from WADA identifying some of our athletes and said they should be tested. We tested them and sent in their results. We have also embarked on testing the whole athletes so that we play safe of our assertion that we are going to compete clean. We've sent the samples for of the listing, the specimens for testing, and so far so good. We've not
change that bureaucracy so that we can forge ahead, so that Nigerian sport will go ahead, so that we can please use that sport that we are used to in unifying this country, so that we will be happy, so that the youth will be happy, so that the old men that know that sport is something good for us in this country to be happy about it. Please change that bureaucracy. You are part of the government. You have written, you said, so from January, and you are just getting the approval. Why are you just getting the approval? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bash. Well, I'm sure the minister heard that.
Well, I think Olympian who said it takes 6 years. It can even take more than that.
More than that.
Yes, it can take more than that. In fact,
Yes.
I know of a gold medalist who was trained for 16 years. The coach identified him and developed him for 16 years before taking him to Olympics, and he came with a medal. So I think in sports that is a long-term investment, and the role of sports government is very, very key. The non-chalant attitude of most sports state government in sports is responsible for the problems we suffered at the center. When we were young, there were secondary school sports, and at secondary school, it was compulsory for you to participate in 1 or 2 sporting events. Today, most schools are in residential areas. Somebody can go to primary school and go to a private university without even seeing a football field, except on the television. Because the primary school and the secondary school are all housed in a residential area. A house was converted into a school. In that situation, we are denying our children the right of sports development. So I think basically the entire sports architecture in Nigeria is faulty.
To sponsor our athletes. Number 2, like myself that I'm speaking today, you won't believe it. My own primary school gives me a common entrance for participating in inter-primary school. But we don't have those games anymore. But let's forge ahead. The mistake has been done. Just like the Honorable Minister said, what do we need to contribute as Nigeria, not Nigeria contributing to us? We need to be patriotic, number 1. Number 2, for God's sake, let's be realistic. All the federation we have today, all the chairmen, it's only 1 or 2 of them have real heart for the federation they are heading. Number 1, sorry, please, let me go to football, for example. What are football as a federation doing to bring fun? But rather, they are fighting themselves. I want to become the president of this, I want to become the president of that. Please, we Nigerians to make it. If you don't have to bring to a table, never you elect. They should never elect someone like that. Like there's some problem in the football federation today. This want to become the president. If the federal government want to say something, they will run to FIFA. Meanwhile, they don't have fund to fund the federation. They run back to the government. So my own contribution: any president of a federation
was offered to Nigeria first, many, many years ago, we did not accept it. Because at that time, it is not government contract to do it. Then after about 10 years, they offered an hour to us. We did not accept it. They took it to Dakar when Lamin Diak became the IAAF president. This is where the science of the sports is supposed to be cooked until we manage to get one now at the University of Port Harcourt. I tell you this, we have only took one person who can officiate in Africa as an ATO, Africa, only one. Because for you to qualify, you have to go to Kenya to write the exams. We have sent professors, doctors, they've gone and most of them, they failed. Over time, this is not one-off, over time. But if we have it here, if we are doing it here, we'll be able to make sure that, you know, I mean, they will be abreast with what is happening, and that will make them pass those exams. I'm just trying to give you the background that we refuse to be digital. We decide to remain analog. So, and that is the problem we have. You know, when we talk about the Olympics, people talk about the training tour, issue of training tour. Yeah, there's no money. When there's no money, you take some right decisions. But the truth is that we ought to have been training outside this country by now. Because you'll be exposed to better facilities, you'll be exposed to better personnel, scientific, sports science personnel, and yeah.
Tartan tracks do we have? You know, so when we're talking about sports and we're looking at these Olympics and whether we should train here or train outside, it's a no-brainer.
Right, so for those who are saying, look, some of the countries, some of the world beaters actually train at home, they may not know what they're talking about because what facilities have you got to train at home?
They train at home because they had what they needed to train with. And it's not just the training, and I want to also correct one impression. You see, Nigerians always talk about camping. There is this idea that we have, this deluded idea we have, that until you bring people into a segregated prison and keep them there for 1 year, you're not training, you're not preparing. Preparation is about what you do year-round. I kept telling people, 2014 we went to the Commonwealth Games. That was preparation for these Olympics. Africa Games last year was preparation for these Olympics. We went to 2 qualifiers. Those were preparations for these Olympics. My only little quarrel is that these athletes needed to compete. I don't even believe in coming and keeping athletes in a place for 3 months. Young 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old athletes will be kept here. Most of them are in university. They will lose their school. They won't be able to write exams because they're expected to come and camp in a prison. I was never used to that kind of system. I never stayed in a camp for more than 2 weeks. You went to a camp is a place where you go and get specific training and you're out. And then you come back and get ready and you're out, you go compete and you come back. And that is what we should be doing. But it's deluded notion that until you bring people and keep them in a prison for 6 months, take 10 months, then you are now preparing because the whole Nigeria will know
at least 2 to 3 hours a day for athletes or for students to participate in sports. That's one. Two, facilities. Governments are the brain behind facility infrastructure in Nigeria. If that is all we can get from the funding they are giving to us to develop sports, it's fine. Then the other part should come from the private space, sectors and so on. Policy, sports policy. With all the grammar that we've been speaking in the Sports Reform Committee, which I'm a member of, if at the end of our paper, sir, as soon as we turn the paper into you, Honorable Minister, please help us. Drive it to the National Assembly and help us pass it so that we'll be able to implement it. Everything that we've done in the Sports Reform Committee is to bring back that primary school sports competition, secondary school participation, elite athletes, and all the way to the podium, and actually create a data bank where we can house all our athletes, be able to track them from primary, secondary, all the way to the tertiary institution and the pro.
Okay.
That will cut back the age cheat and all the other stuff that comes along with sports development.
Okay, let's take one more call. This one from Maiduguri. Stanley calling in from Maiduguri.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Yes, I want to make an input and my contribution to this discussion this evening is that I want to appreciate they will participate. And then the medals we are talking about would have already been waiting for the time. And by so doing, it will go a long way in helping us. And like we said, somebody was suggesting that accounts should be opened so that people will be dropping whatever thing they have and all of that. That is a very good suggestion. I will also add to that as that is being carried along, we should also have it at the back of our mind that it should not go into hands of looters, because we know ourselves, you were talking about, people that looters, so that it doesn't go into their hands, and then at the end of the day, it will now become a fruitless effort. As we do so, God will help us and bless Nigeria as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stanley. Right, back in the studio, and we have Victor with us, and you've listened to it in terms of preparations, even beyond Rio. If we talk about training, yes, we don't even have the facilities, we don't have equipment. The science of sports has left us behind.
Whether we like it or not, the economy of any country has a direct correlation to this kind of support or the level of support you get in terms of sports funding. Because when you look at it from the context of if the economy is doing well and businesses are booming, or the country is doing well economically, the tendency to pump in more money or support, both from individuals and corporate organizations, will be there. and begin to implement. Have Gembu in Taraba State. It has the same climatic condition with what you have in Kenya.
Better.
But have we been able to develop it? That's a very high altitude. It's lying there. There was even an attempt to set up structures. The structures are even, I'm sure they would have been dilapidated. I visited that place once. Very high altitude. That if we are training there, it's possible for us to compete at that level. But it's still just there, lying fallow. So the issue of sports funding in Nigeria, sports funding is critical. Without funding, it's going to be difficult for us to make impact and compete against the rest of the world.
Right, Papa.
In terms of facilities in the country, I could recall when the National Stadium was built, it was locked under key. Nobody goes in to play football. Nobody goes in to even go onto the track. Our hockey pitch here, we had 2 hockey pitches in the National Stadium. There will be series of competitions.
All over the world, they build facilities.
All over the world.
Well, speaking
facilities
about
are being built by private individuals.
So it's a matter of a systematic development
And
that
the
we
policy,
don't have.
And the
Even if
policy,
we bring
the
up,
policy,
even if
the
we,
policy is key.
even
The
if we
policy
have
is
all
key.
the money in the world, you have to have a plan.
That is what I mean, the policy.
Structure.
If the policy is consistent, you are building on what I left.
Well,
like now, if the minister is building on what he got, and he at the moment he is leaving, somebody is building on a policy like that, definitely sports will go no in Nigeria.
Talking about the team sports, perhaps no other one is so well known now than the Tigers. And many Nigerians are pinning their hopes on them. This is perhaps because they know a lot about what has been happening to that team. You don't get to hear about other sports. Why is this so?
But table tennis is known.
No, it's talk of team sports. We have football.
Okay. Basketball.
Football is okay. And I think we have a very good team for football in this Olympics. produce the raw materials for that factory. Local government states.
Okay.
Now, if a factory does not have raw materials, what happens to that factory? It dies.
It's shut down.
You see, we used to have Eagles belt. I used to box. We used to have Eagles belt in those days. Boxing was a way of life in this country. And boxing has been good to our sports appearances at the international level. But what happened? What happened? Everybody forgot. Apart from Lagos, I don't think there's any where boxing has been done. Apart from Lagos, okay. Look, apart from even boxing, let's take wrestling. Before Igali came, what was the state of our wrestling? Because this is when you find passion, when people put passion into what we are doing. Today we can discuss it because people have done the toiling.
All right. Well, there's still one more issue with Rio, Minister. Any worries about Zika?
Well, Zika is an international concern. Some athletes had withdrawn from some countries. But I traveled to Rio for inspection. When I was leaving, that phobia was created in me. But when I arrived, put before Nigerians, especially when we talk about football. No, that is the way we have been managing football in Nigeria is responsible for some of the problems we have. The team that went and played and qualified to go to Rio is not the final squad that is now playing to go to Rio.
What happened?
That is the beginning of injustice. Because in football, those that have qualified now is going to Rio. The coach now determines the squad. And you get us now bringing people from professionals from all over the world to assemble them. He now have been saying these people did not enjoy the team spirit with which they played to qualify. So when you assemble them like that, it is a situational team. The cohesion there is not formidable enough, and we may not get the desired victory. So one of the problems with football, and it took us the issue of, oh, we needed coach. We needed a foreign coach, we needed a local coach, we needed even a village coach. Today, the story is all over. But fundamentally, the problem is with the sports architecture. It's a servicing sports. A servicing sports model is that sports that does not prepare. It's like a fire brigade sports. It waits for tournament. Once there is tournament, it scouts for athletes and assemble them. And that has been the tradition in this country for a very long time, since the collapse of those who made us proud so many years ago. And that is why we are calling for a change. So I want to assure you that that paper of reform will be driven as far as I am concerned. the machinery for it has been put in on ground. Even we are going to embark on concession of our sporting facilities so that we invite the private sector to be involved in the management so that government can only contribute little. Otherwise, this way the National Stadium in Lagos, within a short span of time, and it got dilapidated. Some of us were there in 1982 to medal in 4x400 just to go around as a minister, and the place is more or less like a shrine. We couldn't imagine it. So if something is not done, even this one in Abuja, the what do you call it, the swimming pool here, if you go there now, it's already gone. Until when I came in,
We'll review Rio at the end of it all.